Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. On this video, as promised, we're going to dive deep into one of the most popular ways and strategies to pay off your debt. That's the snowball method. So if you want to know the pros and cons of the snowball method and maybe some ways that you can kind of customize the strategy for paying off your debt, then you're going to want to watch this video all the way to the end, where I'm going to share with you again the pros and cons, and then I'm going to show you a spreadsheet, kind of how I would do it if I were you. My name is Cluff. I love helping people manage, protect, and grow their money, and on this channel we want to help you build towards your massive bank account. So the first thing we want to do is define what is the snowball method. The snowball method is a method where you list out all of your debts. And if you missed the video where I talked to you about how to list out all your debts, I'll go ahead and I'll put it up here. So what you do is you list out who you owe money to, the total balance, the interest rate, and then the minimum payment. And so what we're going to do is we're going to list all of our debts in order. And with the snowball method, what you do is you pay off the first debt first, and then you roll that money into the next debt. So it's like a snowball rolling down the hill, paying off your debts. All right, so let's talk about some of the pros of the snowball method. The first pro is that it gives you a really quick win, and it gives you that ability to say to yourself, I did it. I paid this thing off, and it's good to go, and it just feels good to be able to say that you've paid off a debt, and it gives you that motivation to move on to the next debt. Another thing is that emotional boost is going to give you the fortitude to say, I can do this, and give you that belief, building that belief that you can do it and that you can move forward and pay off your debts and stay on track financially. This is such a powerful thing to be able to do with the snowball method, because it's a quick, easy win, and it builds your belief that you can do this. Another thing about the snowball method is that it's super simple, and we all know about the KISS principle. Keep it super simple, and this method is absolutely keeping it super simple. You literally, what debt is the least amount, and pay that first. What's the next least amount? Pay that second. What's the next least amount? Pay that third. Super easy, super simple. Once you go through your budget, you take as much money as you can and you pay off that first debt. Once it's paid off, then all the money you were paying to that first debt, you roll to the second debt. So it builds on itself as it continues to get bigger. Hence why it's called the snowball, because as a snowball rolls down a hill, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so the first debt gets paid off. The second debt, you can now use all the money you were using on the first debt to pay off the second debt. All right, now let's get into a couple of the cons to this snowball method. One of the cons to the snowball method is that you're going to pay more in interest with this method, because you're not tackling the debt with the highest interest rate first, which is the snowball avalanche method, which we're going to talk about in a future video. So stay tuned, make sure you like and subscribe so that you are aware of when that video comes out, because you're going to want to know when it's time to switch from the snowball method to the avalanche method, because there is a time to switch. So first of all, though, the cons are that if you pay down the smallest debt, it may not be the most interest, and there might be other debts with higher interest rates, which means that you're going to be paying more in interest. So you might end up paying more money over the long term if you stick with the snowball method. Another problem for the snowball method is that if you don't really have a smallest debt, let's say that you have 5 credit cards and they're all about the same, you probably aren't going to choose the snowball method, because it's going to take you so long to pay off the first debt that you might miss out on those pros, which is the psychological, the win, the belief that you can do this. And so that's kind of why the snowball method has a few cons, is that if you have a bunch of debts that are relatively the same amount of money, or maybe your smallest debt is a really large debt, it's going to take a while for you to really do that. So you might consider the other strategies if that's your scenario and that's your situation. So like I shared with you earlier, there is a time that maybe the snowball method is really good to get rid of those quick, easy, small debts. And then as you get to the point where you're kind of realizing you're about the same on all the rest of the debts, you might want to switch to another strategy at that point. Also, make sure that you stay tuned, because I'm going to come out with a few other videos on different strategies that you may want to integrate and kind of combine with the snowball method to make sure that you get out of debt most efficiently and effectively as possible. One of the biggest reasons why people are in debt is because of emotions, because of habits, because of behaviors. And so it's very important to kind of get a grasp on those before we move forward. One of the things that I want to make sure that you do is, of course, the most important thing before you even start any of these strategies is you want to go through your budget. You want to make sure that you're absolutely aware of your income, your expenses, you're aware of exactly how much money is going out of your account every month. Because if you have extra money every month, if you're making more money, if more money is coming in than what's going out, you're going to really have a lot of money to really tackle these debts. However, I want to caution you against trying to get out of debt too soon. Here's what I mean. A lot of people will take all of their extra money and they'll focus on getting out of debt so fast that if an emergency happens or some bill comes up or something happens in their life, they'll literally pull out the credit card and put that on the credit card and go right back into debt. I recently just had a situation where my car at the mechanic, they told me that it was going to be a certain dollar amount. I went back, ended up there was a few other things that they found and it was going to be even more. And thankfully I have built up what's called an emergency fund. So I was able to pay for those things out of my savings, not off of my credit card. So the first thing that I would do before starting to really tackle your debt or choose a strategy is to make sure that you're building a savings account, a buffer, so that you don't go back into debt in the event of an emergency happening, because we all know emergencies happen. Ultimately, the snowball method is a great method to get out of debt, and it's probably the method that I would start with in most cases. And even if I was to advise my clients and they were to sit down with me and we were to develop a strategy, I would definitely make sure that they started with that strategy, or at least we took a look at that strategy. What I want to do now, though, is I want to share with you a spreadsheet that I like to use that shows exactly how this strategy can work. This is the spreadsheet that I use and have used with many of my clients over the years. What I do is highly recommend that you start with a creditor. Who do you owe money to? So this is an example of 2 car loans, a MasterCard, a personal loan, a student loan, and a Visa. So if you had these as your debts, this is how you would do this. And so you'd put in the minimum payment, you put the balance due, and the interest rate. Now, from here, you can see which one is the debt snowball versus the debt avalanche and the cash flow index. There's other debt programs that we're going to talk about and strategies we're going to talk about. So make sure you hit like and subscribe and so you don't miss those. The debt snowball is the one we're going to look at today, though. So what I would do is, of course, all the creditors are here. The information is here. So the balance due, I would go here and I would sort those by A to Z, which is smallest to largest. So I know exactly which credit card that I want to pay off first. So thankfully, in this particular case, it's got one of the highest interest rates as well, so we can kind of tackle 2 birds with 1 stone. So the balance due here is $1,400, MasterCard, minimum payment's $25. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, after having done my budgeting, after having worked through all of my budget, I finally found the extra money that I'm going to put towards this. All of that extra money, $25 plus the extra money, goes to pay this thing down. So if I'm putting in $200 a month on this, I'm going to pay this thing down in 7 months. It's going to be over and done with. I'm going to be so excited and happy with myself. And then what I'll do is I'll take the 25, the 200, and I'll move it to this. So it'll be 25 plus 35 plus 200. So that's basically $260. $260 that's going to go towards this next debt. So that's more money going towards the next debt. And then once I pay that off, I move to the next one and the next one and the next one, and so on and so forth until I'm completely out of debt. With this debt snowball, this is exactly how you would do it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this useful. I hope that you now know how the snowball method works, the pros and cons, what you might look out for, what you probably ought to do before you hit the strategies in developing and making sure that you have a strong emergency fund set up and ready to go before you start tackling your debt with any real vigor. Make sure you hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the new videos as they come out, and make sure that you take time every day to build towards your massive bank account. We'll see you on the next video.